and welcome to the Sunday Club. I'm delighted to be back with you all. I apologize for missing last week, but we had some unscheduled dropouts and couldn't continue with the show. But we're back in full form today and joined by a new Sunday Clubber, Mr. Pratim Bose, out of Calcutta, commentator, political analyst, closely watches what's going on in West Bengal. And we'd be really helped and are lucky to have him join us today because, as you know, we're going to be discussing the TMC Game of Thrones. Certainly not too many people anticipated this kind of churn in the TMC because it's also a family-led party now, you can say that. There's a aunt, and then there is the son, the brother, brother's son rather, who is the nephew, and he's also an MP from Diamond Harbour, and has been very active in politics, in local West Bengal politics, as well has been, at least by the media, been acknowledged as the heir apparent to these thrones, so to speak. However, this past few days, there has been a churn and there have been all kinds of messages coming from West Bengal wherein we are being told that all is not well within the family fold. And Mamata has taken quite a few drastic measures. For example, she's completely dissolved all their national posts, including that held by her nephew, he used to be a general secretary. And that means that she's going to reconstitute all these positions. And there was a news report that said that today or maybe tomorrow is when she's going to reveal the other people who are going to take those positions. So it's all up in the air. Of course, we know that PK is out, IPAC is out from TMC operations. In fact, there was a report that he's texted Mamata Banerjee and said that IPAC would no longer be able to work with TMC. And all she wrote back was a pithy thank you. That's what the reports say. And of course, here is Suhail Seth joining us from Goa. And I'm delighted to be... Suhail, don't play the show at the same time. You've got me here. So Suhail's here as well. And Suhail, of course, put up a tweet the other day wherein he said that, you hear of mothers being overthrown by sons and sons overthrowing fathers. And of course, our history is rife with those kind of examples. But very rarely do you hear of an aunt being overthrown by a nephew. And is this some sort of millennial wokeness that's going on in the political spectrum? It was a salty tweet, but enough to trigger a lot of conversation. So thank you, Suhail, as well, for being back with us. And we will be joined by Sandeep Ghosh, Pallavi, as well as Abhijit Iyer Mitra, who will join us only by audio because he's traveling in a car. So let's dive right into it. And I'd like to invite Mr. Bose to start off and tell us exactly what's happening in West Bengal in the present time.
Well, exciting is the one-word answer. Mm-hmm. That way, the single biggest event, if we leave apart BJP entering and warming up over here, and then to some extent failing miserably, the single most critical event probably after the fall of CPM. Now, this was kind of expected. A movement within the party was expected post 2021 win. The reason being that I hope many will agree that it was Abhishek and IPAC who made the difference, because even TMC didn't expect so many seats. Let us be very precise about it. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Bose. Yes, go ahead.
So that being the case, it was expected that he will have more power in the party, more power and say. And we also saw that he was somehow, going for Tripura, Goa, etc. For a leader like Mamata Banerjee, who, if we track her past, she has always been after power. I mean, and it has to be for a politician, legitimate. So she's, but she's extremely aggressive about it. So given that, it's a family party. Let us from day one, well, earlier there was no nephew, but it is a one-man show, and it is expected that someone from the family will take it over.
Correct.
So there is a little doubt about it. The rest is just imagined. The so many posts and etc. etc. I don't know how much does it matter, because we have many, at least more than one. I can just keep on telling where people just withdrew their words. They came out with a decision, the party, so-called party decision, and then next moment they just took another stance because the leader didn't accept. It happened many times. So it is a family party. It is a family show. And this is basically within the party where I have my doubts is that the way it is being projected, that it is there is a huge rift or not. Mamata Banerjee was, to my understanding, was not in very, it's not like that she was all ears to IPAC these years.
Yeah.
It was basically IPAC and Abhishek Banerjee. And the change, whatever post or etc. doesn't matter. Apparently, what is interesting is that in that list of 20, there are not leaders from this Tripura and all these things, one or two. And Abhishek Banerjee's trusted hands are not there.
Okay.
So that is the significant part. That is why it is creating so much of noise.
Got it. Pallavi is on the road. Welcome, Pallavi and Sandeep.
That Rolls Royce is really distracting.
Yeah, I mean, you need to stop with this, fancy rides that you show off on the shows.
What do I do? I think Suhail and Abhijit are very jealous by nature. Yeah. I have a very low opinion of some of the men, especially Bengali men. Yeah. But, just to come back to what's happening in the TMC, Advaita, as I tweeted, I'm not surprised. First of all, its roots. Its roots is from the Congress party. And I was there in Bengal for the elections. Look, I was a little surprised when they went overboard with IPAC because, when a Stalin goes in or a Jagan Mohan Reddy goes in or a Congress party somewhat under Captain Amrinder Singh goes in, I can understand somewhat because they are not very sure of the way they are doing the elections. But here you had a Mamata Banerjee who's a two-time chief minister who was actually a street fighter. I mean, she defeats the left. And anyone who's followed Bengal politics knows that was not a mean achievement. It was a huge achievement. For her to go in for an IPAC on a political strategist actually dictating to her कि तुमको इतना interview देना है, ये बोलना है, वो नहीं बोलना है. This is something which should be inherent. This is a gut feeling you have. But, it is typical of a party which was also going through a generational change. And that's where Abhishek Banerjee factor comes in. And we would notice the difference in ways of Mamata. Mamata Banerjee is not the kind of a politician you cage her down and tell her to speak like this. She can do that very comfortably. The people who are very good orators, for example, they don't need to be given a script. They know. And the moment you tell them, you have to read it out from this auto cue or from a script, they go horribly wrong. And that's what happened to her. So I'm not very surprised at what is happening with Trinamool Congress. And just as well, she needs to send that message that I'm in control because it is just downhill after that. I think they went into a hurry, that Goa thing, the way they started speaking. She had a good equation with Sonia Gandhi, but Abhishek Banerjee ridiculing Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi all the time. That's not Mamata Banerjee's style. I mean, she had her own way of sending that message. Because I remember a very quick example, Advaita, because I remember she came and gave a soundbite says, what is UPA? Where is UPA? That created a whole hangama. Yeah. Next day, Derek O'Brien was made to do a press conference in which he clarified that what we actually meant was that UPA was actually a government alliance. Today, they are out of power, so the whole UPA does not exist. But Congress exists. So we knew where that was coming in from. So that is one. Second thing is, it's within the Congress party. The group of 23, I'm actually waiting for a G23 in the Trinamool Congress to emerge. Someone writes that letter. But, it's a generation test. When Rahul Gandhi took charge, there was confusion. old versus the new. The same thing is happening in the Trinamool Congress. And the mess of the Congress party is because there's a tug of war, there's a Sonia Congress, there's a Rahul Congress, there's now a Priyanka Gandhi Congress. And the same thing is happening in the TMC. There's a Abhishek Banerjee. I mean, look at the Diamond Harbour thing. I mean, it was like in an island. You're projecting Diamond Harbour as, like Abhishek Banerjee's constituency as great achievement in controlling COVID. Somewhere that started overshadowing the efforts being made by the Bengal government also. So I'm not surprised.
But Pallavi, if you say that, okay, there's a Sonia Congress, there's a Rahul Congress, but at least Sonia and Rahul are together. Here, it's like a unanticipated, but an actual split between the aunt and the nephew. Sohail, do you want to come in on this?
See, I want to pull back because I'm from Calcutta, like most people are here, but I visit Calcutta more often than not, than most people again. I mean, I don't know, Advaita, when you last went to Calcutta, and thank God you didn't, because it's still very, very...
I haven't gone since COVID, but I must
it's a very civilized,
I'm writing another show which is based in West Bengal. So after Kahani, that's my next.
Let's analyze Mamata, because I've worked with Mamata on the railway board as an advisor. I've written against her, written for her, blah, blah, blah. Derek was with me. He was a colleague of mine in Ogilvy. So I know the cast of characters reasonably well. Abhishek Banerjee wants to come into his own. When you want to come into your own, you choose your own people. It's simple. He's doing nothing different from Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi wanted to get rid of the shackles of Ahmed Patel, of all these guys, and he did what he did. So it's a version 2.0 of Rahul Gandhi minus Rahul Gandhi's stupidity. So that's number one. Number two, Mamata is off her head most of the time. Remember, she's very temperamental. Very. It works brilliantly in politics because then you can take on the might of the BJP when they make stupid comments like, oh Didi, blah, blah, blah. Plus, she is very headstrong, as Pradimda rightly said. The difference is she lacks strategic skills. The strategic skills come from Abhishek, and through Abhishek from IPAC. Now, here's what's happened. Prashant Kishore has a brilliant track record in pissing off the people he works with. He has done this repeatedly. Today, he's persona non grata with Nitish Kumar. Please remember, he almost stayed with Narendra Modi before the 2014 elections. He has a habit of burning bridges. Now, we don't know which bridge he's burnt, certainly not the Howrah Bridge. Others we'd have known. But he's burnt bridges off and on most of the time. My feeling, which I will say on your program today, we're on the 13th of February. We're on the 13th of February. Mark my words, by April, Prashant Kishore will join politics formally for himself.
But he said that.
No. But he will. He has said many things many a time. Where are we in Bengal? Derek O'Brien, Shugata Roy. Shugata Roy is still Lok Sabha matters. Most of the Rajya Sabha guys have largesse being given out by Mamata Banerjee. They have no local stand-by. They can't win their locality elections if they had to stand for. So there is no mass appeal other than Mamata. Now let me counter one thing that Pradimda said. Abhishek Banerjee has 100th the mass appeal of Mamata Banerjee. Both need each other and they must feed off each other. Why? Abhishek Banerjee has been the master collector of money in Bengal, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long, long time. People used to blame Chandan Basu when Jyoti Babu was alive. This guy makes Chandan Basu look like kindergarten. Mamata Banerjee has great mass appeal. She can pull in the crowds. What Abhishek is trying to do is temper and analyze and moderate the fact that if there's one crowd puller, let there be one strategist. He therefore needed the help and will continue to perhaps need the help of a strategic partner, whether it's IPAC or GPAC, we don't know. But that's the reality of Bengal today. So it is in a precarious condition. And please don't think this is a game or a charade being played by aunt and nephew. There is trouble in paradise. Because Mamata is not the kind to even brook gossip about the fact that she's losing control. She's that much of a control freak. So she won't even allow people to conjecture ki na amar kache ar par nei, amar nephew ta shob niye jacche. Now, if you were civilized Advaita and had gone to a proper school, you'd understand what I'm saying.
I also want to point out that whatever Suhail Seth says is his own, on his own liability, not mine or the show.
Yeah, but it's on your program. You have told me to abuse these people.
Yeah, you are legally responsible, Advaita.
You too, I'm
Before
sorry.
the show, you told me.
I like, you just say whatever.
Nasty things to get my TRPs. I love Mamata Banerjee.
Yeah, I personally witnessed this. I have personally witnessed this. I have personally witnessed Advaita Kala telling Suhail Seth this, that he must say nasty things on his program, otherwise mera TRP nahi badega. And you have agreed. I am witness to the verbal agreement, and it is a legal binding verbal agreement that you are responsible for anything that your guests say on the program.
Balance it out. She gets
Pallavi is the only journalist here. She's the only bona fide journalist here, and isn't it?
What is bona fide journalist?
I mean, in the sense she's like on the road and she's like covering stuff.
So what is he, bona fide journalist?
So is Abhishek on the road? He's also a bona fide journalist.
I am on the road. Can you see? I am in my car. I am on the road.
You're going for dinner somewhere. He's going for dinner.
You are a fraud and you are going for dinner somewhere. You're going to put up those fancy pictures of crab and lobster. Let's not even get there. And you're copying us. You're aping me. That is just not happening. It's not done.
But see, Pallavi, I know Advaita Kala is holding you hostage. Blink twice to indicate that you are being threatened with a gun.
No. She can't.
But Pallavi, isn't this not a fact that you cannot be held responsible for what your guests say on the show? That's their view. So I've made that clear.
We have said, why are you being dramatic? See, the problem with you is you're also being more loyal than the king to the BJP. We have said nothing nasty about Mamata Banerjee. We are analyzing Bengal situation.
How am I being loyal to the king about the BJP when I'm
talking? You're always loyal to the BJP.
Where's BJP coming?
Where's BJP? These two have to bring in BJP. Oh, Sandeep, please come in. Please, we need class in the show.
Sandeep is the one who, Sandeep, you trigger it off here.
No.
I'm joining now.
I'm only balancing out being the only cultured person here. She
Thank you.
Classy or what, she needs to balance.
First, classy and cultured are not the same thing.
True. I agree with you.
I know many people who are classy, but they're not cultured. And cultured, you're not an oyster or a pearl that you have to be cultured. You just have to be nice, which you are.
Yeah. Okay, Sandeep.
You have to read Rabindranath Sheshar Kobita to understand the difference between culture and education. Okay. He said, what you said, classy, etc. That is the diamond. But the glitter which comes out of the diamond is culture. So that not everybody.
Anyway, I don't want to be discussed so much. You'll continue with what you have to say.
Okay. Now coming back to, I have minor differences with Pratim. I think, first of all, after the Lok Sabha election, Mamata Banerjee and TMC were extremely rattled, the numbers they saw. And from whatever grapevine I have heard, at that point in time, Mamata had squarely put the blame on Abhishek, saying that it's your over-smartness or whatever has landed us into this problem. And at that point in time, subsequent to that, and she was rattled, and Abhishek tried to do a kind of a course correction or salvage the situation, saying that, no, we will go in much more prepared. And she managed to, thanks to some people like Derek and other people, managed to sell Prashant Kishore in, and Prashant Kishore would have done his own spiel. That's how Prashant Kishore came into the picture. If you recall, at that point in time also, there was a lot of pushback from the old guard of Trinamool about Prashant Kishore, including a Dinesh Trivedi who quit. He said, like, who is this newcomer? Or even Shubhendu Adhikari's father and people saying that he is dictating the tickets. And so a lot of the exodus also which happened to BJP, what partly triggered by him, BJP may have encashed on it quickly to get. So there was that dissonance was all there. But as they say, nothing succeeds like success. So once the whole results came out, he obviously took a huge credit for it. And by default or otherwise, since he was Abhishek's man, Abhishek became very important. And that's how Abhishek was made the National General Secretary and the rest of it. Now, coming to the, so from there, thereafter, Mamata was sold this whole idea of being the national challenger, which they were trying to sell to her even before 2019. If you remember, that's the time she had gone to Karnataka, and then she got Sharad Pawar and other people come to Calcutta for the thing. And, Suhail's friend Derek O'Brien had written this book on Parliament saying how you can add up seats one by one, and therefore you can still defeat Modi. So all that arithmetic, which people had.
She gave TV interviews. She gave TV interviews.
Yeah, so I wrote in an article at that point in time, these are people who were advising who neither were good in mathematics, nor in chemistry. So they got that totally wrong. And that's why 2019 happened the way it did. So then again, this whole, after that thing, Mamata obviously was on a great high after winning. And, because of the huge hype Amit Shah, Modi and all had created there. And so she came, really looked like a giant killer. That's where we stopped Modi in the track. So I suppose she started also believing about the national ambitions and the rest of it. Now, in the process, where again, just like I said, when things, nothing succeeds like success, as we know, those of us who have been in corporate world or in business, the reverse is also true. So first level, she was made to make a huge investment in Tripura and Meghalaya. The Tripura investment, although it was for the municipal elections, it came to zilch. It didn't give them any result. Meghalaya, again, they made a big investment to acquire these 24 odd people. But those people have come in any case naam ke vaste, and one didn't figure out at that stage what she was going to achieve. Tripura has got 2 seats, Meghalaya has got 2 seats, even Goa has 2 parliamentary seats. So really trying to capture those places of what she was getting at. So Meghalaya, okay, you might still say it's a dead or dormant investment, but the biggest problem happened in Goa. So there they went all guns blazing. IPAC was flown in, and Suhail once described, I thought it very graphically, there was not a single coconut palm without a Trinamool poster or Mamata's picture. So they went humongous. They said the Russians almost got driven away, and because there were Trinamool posters which took over the pubs and bars. So they made, and there was then all this bravado. Everybody started saying, that, oh, what can we do if Congress is not doing their job? Somebody has to do their job. So we are doing the job. And when they were trying to get people in from Congress, and all of us know, we are not naive to not know how much these things cost.
Absolutely. Okay. It's all transactional in Goa. Every politician is transactional.
To get one, name across. So they made a huge investment. And even not too long ago, they were still, I think, pretty gung-ho. That's the time when there were these statements being made against Congress. But somehow after Congress got its act together, Chidambaram and others came into the picture, and they started getting a strategy together. And when they found the ground slipping, I think that's when panic set in. And then that's also a time when Prashant Kishore also tried to target his overtures back to Congress, etc. Okay, so I'll just complete more time. When they did that, so that was really the unraveling which started. Okay, and I'll come back later to add one comment to what you all are mentioning about Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. That's the difference lies between Mamata and Sonia Gandhi. Sonia Gandhi, for whatever reason, won't pull up Rahul, blind spot. But Mamata, whether you're a son or a nephew, anything, she's not going to brook that. What everybody says, if it was Sonia Gandhi, should have pulled out a Rahul long ago, and which she would not doing for something. Mamata finds, this is her life and property.
Her creation, actually, yeah.
Abhijit, she cannot take that out. No, Suhail wants to come in. So
let Abhijit.
Abhijit hasn't spoken as yet. So
Advaita, as Suhail said earlier, right now for anything to happen, his feathers have been cut. It is a strong message going out, but immediately he cannot be also thrown out because he controls the treasury.
Okay, got it. Abhijit, you of course went to Kolkata, and you used that famous Mercedes analogy for what was happening in West Bengal. And now, did you ever think that it would come to this point wherein, because just about a month and a half, 2 months ago, we were seeing Mamata sort of on a very triumphant visit to Delhi. People were joining her party. There was talk about this big leader joining, that big leader joining, and some did. At least not, if not mass leaders, then those who have a good imprint or footprint in media, social media, and a good visibility, which would give her the national party feathers. So it seems like, they were working to a plan and they were going for it. Then Prashant Kishore drops out or is asked to drop out. And then now this situation with the nephew. So what's your take on this? Abhijit, unmute yourself.
Sorry, I have a slightly different take. And if you remember, I told you that the BJP was going to get wiped out in Bengal. Now, there's a reason for this, but yes, I did kind of see this coming. It came a lot quicker than all my ground sources. Now, this isn't my analysis. This is everything that I say on Bengal is from people I trust who are on the ground. I'm the fat slob who never gets out of the 5-star hotel, really. But there are people who do, who I trust implicitly. What had been happening was that, like Sandeep said, Mamata's national ambitions grew because they went on trying to project her nationally. The local, I wouldn't say vacuum, but in a sense, a lot of the local power and decision-making was kind of getting given to the nephew. The nephew, of course, is also brought up in a different generation. He hasn't fought on the streets, the knife fights kind of thing that Mamata had to endure. So he has kind of grown up in, I would almost say, as an Akhilesh Yadav to Mamata's Mulayam Yadav in that sense. I am yet to hear somebody say that he understands the ground, or he can pull the crowds, or have the charisma of Mamata. Now, in this, what has happened is, the boy is extremely ambitious. And what has happened here is, this is basically somebody he's also been trying to kick up in that sense. Go national, auntie, go national, go national. And he obviously wants certain things. So what has happened here is that as Mamata, she's a consummate realist. She knows what she can do and what she cannot do. As she has tempered her own expectations, which I suspect will get tempered even more in Goa, what you will see is this fight will only get worse. And the fight will get worse for a very simple reason, because she, being the realist, will temper her expectations. She will see that at least for the next 2-3 years, there's no natural role for her. She will refocus on Bengal, and she'll essentially be stepping into a lot of territory that got ceded to Abhishek. That, for me, is the root of what is happening out here. But part two, in all of this, is the role that Prashant Kishore played. Like Suhail said, this man is extraordinarily devious. I wouldn't put it past him to have accelerated this entire process by, bhadkaufying one against the other, for whatever reason. I'm still to get a clear reason, because my problem with Prashant is he inflicts a lot of wounds, completely self-inflicted wounds, for negligible to non-existent gains. I don't know what this tendency with him is. I think he overestimates his own Chanakyan abilities, so to say. But that's my take on it so far.
But then does this, and Suhail can come in on this, does this then hit her national ambitions, this kind of turmoil, or is it like a stopgap thing which will be resolved automatically?
So, from a marketing point of view and a branding point of view, I've had the privilege or whatever to work with a lot of senior politicians. Let me tell you what most of us haven't touched upon today. Qua Mamata. Number one, national ambition is fine. National ambition has to be tempered with capability and quality of people that you're selecting. Number two, which no one has talked about in the media, is where is she getting this kind of money from? Bengal industrialists don't have that kind of money to give her. The kind of money that we are seeing she's spending in Goa, not only on advertising, but even the transactional politics that TMC has had to play. Everyone in Goa has had to play that. So there are three areas of concern or areas that need to be questioned. Number one, what do you mean by national ambition? People in Goa, I've just come back to Goa today from Delhi. Whoever I've met when I was here earlier were telling me that they'd be lucky if they get one seat. Their logic is, oh, we've been only around for 4.5 months. But please understand, last time BJP won because they stole MPs from Congress because Digvijay Singh was sleeping. We don't know, alone or with whoever, but he was asleep. At least Chidambaram would be sleeping, we hope. Number two, TMC's funding will not be commensurate with their national ambition. It's one thing to have ambition, it's one thing to be able to afford that ambition. What she's doing is she's planting flags, number one. Number two, I think Pratim rightly said, her national ambition is more out of ego than out of capability. She wants to be the rallying point, the unifier of a scattered opposition. But in order to be a unifier and a rallying point for a scattered opposition, you need to come to the table with something that you have. Let's analyze. In Bengal, she's in power. Where else? They don't even have a presence anywhere. Tripura, I don't know what will happen. Plus, you've now got a fractured and a party which is at war within itself. So she's in for a lot of trouble. Because remember one thing, no one has talked about this. When Abhishek Banerjee and Mamata fight, or if they are fighting, and when they fight, it will also affect the governance within Bengal. So it's not only that it will affect it outside, it will also affect governance in Bengal. Bengal itself will get screwed. So these are the imponderables that we must analyze. Sorry to use the word imponderables for you, Advaita, but it's a simple English word in Calcutta.
Yes, of course. We are not worthy of your scholarship on this channel. But
our linguistic capabilities.
This national ambition thing, how do you feel it's panning out for her? How closely held is this ambition? She's also 67 years old. So if she is only planting flags and not really looking at being PM candidate 2024, then what is her game?
First of all, I think my view is that she was ambitious to be the PM right from 2014. And in 2019, before 2019, there were a couple of TV interviews in her chosen channels. We know the journalists, and she clearly placed her math that BJP will not get more than 140. And then certain things will happen. And the interviewer was asking her that, can you be the prime minister? These all are shadow, you can understand that why these are being asked. And she will say that that will be decided later, kind of thing. So she was shattered by the 2019 result. This was known. And that, many say that Abhishek was anointed to take over from that point of time. And these are people say. So this part is there. And secondly, if you look at their Tripura or etc., there are certain very interesting things. Like in Tripura, if you see, how many times did Mamata Banerjee go there?
Twice.
Right. So if she had been there, we know the kind of impact she can create. And we also know the people who visited there, as Mr. Seth had rightly pointed out, there are no leaders in that party. There are no leaders, no mass leader. One was there, Abhishek, this Shuvendu Adhikari. He was a mass leader for Trinamool.
And Subrato, but he died.
Subrato lost his appeal many years ago.
Yeah.
He was too old. So there are no mass leaders. And there is no denying of the fact that Abhishek Banerjee is no comparison when it comes to mass leadership. So in Tripura, Goa, there is a logic in doing that. But one has to because they know very well that they cannot afford going to a UP or this or that. So kind of creating an imagery of being a national player. But what not many people did discuss that they had been there in Tripura in 2015.
Yeah.
They were there. In Manipur also, they once had MLAs. So they know that things can, one can say that she allowed it to happen. That let it happen and you understand what you are, kind of.
Yeah, you'll know your auqat.
Yeah, I didn't use that word, but that's it. So one way to say that. And I believe she has national ambition. She has been having it for pretty long. How to is an issue. And I don't think that Abhishek is cut to size forever. I
Correct.
do disagree there, and to some extent with Mr. Ghosh, and to some extent agree with that to Mr. Seth, that I don't think that she can afford that.
They need each other. It's symbiotic.
No, I think, it's, if we look at it, I'm not borrowing your argument. I'm also, okay. So I think there is, Mr. Banerjee has sufficient control over the party. One must understand that this party runs on bureaucrats and police.
Correct.
Okay. So given that, and which is a model for many states. So let us also not be specific.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you mean by that? This party runs on.
Before that, I also like to add one thing. This demand for position is a very crucial demand in parties like Trinamool. In every party, it is crucial, but for Trinamool, it is very crucial. Because if you look at West Bengal politics, it is all about who has power. Everyone is going for that, for the cakes. So I mean, generally there is no politics apart from ruling politics. So it matters a lot whether you are someone there. And if you look at the increasing spend in West Bengal, leave aside outside West Bengal, increasing spend in say for even being a panchayat member, so by candidates, it's mind-blowing. We haven't seen this kind of money flowing over here for many, it is all recent phenomenon. Insofar as running the government is concerned, yes, that Mr. Banerjee has been doing from day one. She was running through her chosen bureaucrats. We all know, some people have retired, so they were in control. I mean, someone we used to refer as deputy chief minister, a bureaucrat. So I'm not taking the name for definite reasons. So this party has been doing that, and police plays a very crucial role in running the administration. There is a problem in going into details about it, but
Bengal has got almost an equivalent of an NSA. He's called by a particular name.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
A name pretty close to that. He's called what? Security advisor to the CM or something to that effect.
That and it's, I mean, well, so
but
we all know.
She does have these, like, remember when she was on that flight and she felt like, and she was circling the airport and she felt that this was an attempt on her life and things like that. I mean,
okay, you can leave those things, those, all politicians, drama baji is normal to all politicians who are mostly into, so those things, let us just leave that aside. Those are small things, but you see, when left was here, they had a clear political administration, right? They didn't allow the bureaucrats to come to their closest ring. One or two of them used to frequent the Alimuddin headquarters, but they didn't like that because, they had their class. They always thought that they are a class apart. They will not rub shoulders with them.
The party.
Right. No, I mean, they will not, the party never thought, for example,
no, I mean,
they will rub shoulders.
The party.
Yeah, the top in the party will not rub shoulders with the, or divulge details to the bureaucrat, whosoever he is. So they kept, maintained a difference. over there. Of course, the chief minister may have some trusted bureaucrat or trusted police officer. That's a different issue.
Sure.
But generally, there was a difference between the administration and political administration.
But Modi's the same. Modi trusts his bureaucrats more than he trusts his ministers.
No, that is why I said that it is.
She took Manish Gupta in the good old days. She took Manish Gupta and put him in the cabinet, if you remember.
No, the model of running the state through bureaucrats is not new anymore. It is happening in many other states also. It's not only to West Bengal.
I have a question for Pallavi also. Pallavi, if you're here, should Mamata, and this, I guess Pallavi may have lost audio right now, but in case she can hear me or anybody else, should Mamata even, okay, fine, there will be a strategy now where into 2022, in about a month's time, we'll be done with UP, which was kind of dominating everything. And then in earnest, I think the planning, the conversations about 2024, especially amongst the opposition camp, will start. Now, if Mamata was to aspire to be prime minister in 2024, or at least the opposition's candidate for the prime minister in 2024, how much support, A, would she get? Secondly, the one thing, it's in all likelihood going to be some sort of coalition if they do manage to come together. It'll be some sort of coalition that will exist. Now, Sonia, to her credit, was able to manage these egos, and she was also accorded a certain heightened status amongst that collection or collective of political parties, because a lot of them were also people who had split away from the Congress and formed their own parties. Now, Mamata being temperamental, being unpredictable, although she is also from the fold of the INC, how much of a viable candidate is she for the opposition?
Advita, I'll just come in with two comments which are related before the others. What I see, I totally agree with Pratim. Let's not have any mistake that she will now shelve her national ambitions. That is, she has been in politics, and that is something, nobody believed her when she was trying to be a CM. Nobody thought, the same kind of thing, that she is too mercurial, too volatile, etc. But she has reached there from being a street fighter or whatever. So she will nurse her ambition. But the change is, earlier, they told her that, you're great, you're doing great, but you need a consultant like Mr. Suhail Seth who will polish up your image and tell you exactly how to position your PR.
That is Dilip Cherian. I'm a marketing person. Please don't confuse me for PR. Okay. We are strategy.
Okay.
Don't confuse Advaita for journalism. She's an anchor.
Okay.
So, anchors can also be journalists.
I'm not even an anchor actually, because a lot of times I skip out and then the others are left anchoring.
So, so they try to say that, okay, he will package you. He knows all the tricks of, the IPAC tricks, everything, and he'll make life easier. And so some of the other little stunts you saw, getting a Javed Akhtar and people on the show, or to raise a profile, or putting her into various situations, all that they try to do. Now, Mamata being Mamata, I suspect she would have said, all this nonsense is fine. I know exactly how to handle the stuff. Let not somebody come and teach me. I will do my own bit. I know how to rally. I have got my own sense of how to rally people. So she will try to do it in that manner. And Pratim, I didn't say Abhishek is, wings are clipped forever. I said just now that he was trying to set up a parallel team, and, a lot of his groupies were making all kinds of statements, and they were behaving that they are larger than. So all that will get tempered. So some of that in the why these 20 people, none of them are there. One, before handing over, one very surprising exclusion, Pratim, I find in Suhail, is Shushmita De. She is missing, and she was at least.
No, she is very much in Goa. Let me.
She's in Goa. She's in Goa.
Sandeep. In fact, of all the lot, Goa Moitra and this Shushmita are actually working the streets. They're working this thing. Derek, I haven't seen. Nafisa, poor thing, goes from house to house, doing whatever she can. Leander Pace has been attending a wedding, and he's been doing other things. He's not campaigning.
He's just not there. He's just not campaigning. Last time saw him was in a fish market, and that was
but otherwise, Mahua Moitra and this and Sushmita are doing active work in Goa. So, in fact,
missing from the list of 20. This,
I was just thinking that, there's something called karma. I still remember, if you remember, that Kapil Sibal had a birthday bash and very gleefully, some of the TMC leaders attended it. And then they started, taking pot shots at the Gandhi saying, look at G23. That G23 movement can hit the TMC also anytime soon. That's one. Second, like the Gandhi siblings, Mamata Banerjee also has a kind of a trust deficit. She doesn't trust too many people. So, will she also make the same mistake which, say, Sonia Gandhi did? Ultimately, I'm going to fall back on my family. And that could be the beginning of the ruin of the Congress party. I mean, there are many people who feel, the Gandhis are not delivering. Why do we have to listen to them all the time? I think that Goa, and more than that, I remember when Mamata Banerjee won in Bengal, Kejriwal's tweet calling her a tigress, Akhilesh Yadav saying, tiger o didi, that can be a bit of a problem for her now, because the undoing of the Congress is also not just because of its poll losses, but also because of its internal strife. If this strife, eats up the TMC, then this whole thing of Didi being the face of a united front, I think, that can be diluted, and her attention will now be focused more on keeping a party together and having a grip on the party, and perhaps less on a national role she desperately wants for herself. I think it's still early days yet.
I just want to make one quick point. Many years ago, Amitabh Bachchan was asked, when will you make up with the Gandhis? And he said, ये राजा और रंग की कहानी है.
कहानी है, बिल्कुल. वो राजा
तय करता है कि रंग कब उनसे मिल सके. In this case, and I don't mean to be demeaning or anything, I think privately Mamata Banerjee always wants to have the same stature, the same level as a Sonia. See, these are people who are searching, wanting that. There's a particular editor now doing his whatever, who always wanted to be social and wanted the world to know that he speaks great English and all that. You know who I'm talking about, but we'll come to that later.
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
I'll tell you later, privately.
And you're going to be held responsible for what
so that's I'll tell you privately.
You can't blame Advaita.
What's his problem with anyone?
No, it's all Advaita's. It's all
What's
Advaita.
His problem with anyone who speaks English? He is such a so insecure.
My whole thing is, let's Advaita, see, you call people like Abhishek and all, we are serious strategists. We have an intelligent, inspiring, informed debate. Let's come back to the topic. I genuinely believe that Mamata Banerjee at some stage wants to be measured, wants to be measured and matched up to the Sonias and those stalwarts. So when an Akhilesh invites her to speak, when people in Punjab invite her to speak, she gets the feeling that I am now replacing I have become the pivot or the rallying point for all opposition.
Correct.
I think Sushmita Dev is not in that list. Mr. Ghosh was right.
No, but she's campaigning. I don't know what list. I didn't say she's any list.
No, in that,
I've seen her on the road.
That new list of 19 top members.
No, but what I think, Pratik, he was saying essentially that she's also that firebrand. She's very much busy in Goa. She's not like missing in action.
In any case, Sushmita Dev has to be busy in Goa or Tripura, because in Assam, she has nothing left. If you look
because they've all joined and they've all got Rajya Sabha. I mean, this is bizarre in this country. Salah, you leave a party, you get Rajya Sabha. Neeraj Shekhar, Rajya Sabha.
But they leave a party often to get a Rajya Sabha, na?
Huh?
They leave a party often because they want to get a Rajya Sabha, na?
Correct.
I think to a large extent, what you're seeing is also resource depletion. They've given Rajya Sabha seats to so many deadweight baggage. You're not able to, essentially manage the expectations out here. Remember, there's also a fight brewing in the parliamentary party out here because between Derek and Mahua.
Ab U-turn kar lo, wahan pe laga lo aur usko location bhej do. Sorry.
मैं न्यूट्रल पर ही हूँ, मैं एकदम न्यूट्रल होता हूँ हमेशा. So what has happened is कि Mahua is getting all the eyeballs, she's getting all the snippets and the publicity. Derek isn't getting it.
Correct.
Right. And this despite the fact that he has been her tiger in Delhi for the last, 7-8 years at least, minimum. So there are several smaller...
As a joke about him, that
personality
he's the
clashes.
Arun Jaitley of the Trinamool Congress.
Don't insult Arun
Is that a
Jaitley's
joke?
memory.
I think that would be a compliment.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
don't
it's a new
insult
problem.
Jaitley's memory yet.
Yeah.
So,
Advaita, obviously
so
your
this-
English is as weak as your anchoring.
Keep quiet.
Don't insult Jaitley. He's dead.
I interjected. You only hear your own voice even
No,
when
you
you're
said
not
it's a
there.
compliment.
I said it's a compliment, not a joke. But anyway, you only hear your own voice even in debate, so one
I
can't
love
go
irritating.
further with this. Okay, Abhijit, go on.
So look, what we need to see is, what we're seeing is not monocausal. There are so many things happening out here. So many micro fights brewing, so many bruised egos at not getting Rajya Sabha brewing. Tensions within aunt and nephew brewing. It's just a sort of never-ending stream of disappointed hopes and ambitions. This is what happens when you win big. And I can tell you for a fact, one of the things that Mamata, because there was this talk about the national whatever idea. One of the things that Mamata was banking on quite a bit, and mind you, the sources I have in the TMC aren't exactly terribly high up, but anyway, was that they just needed to they had a small state strategy. They were going after these small, easy to win states where they could get just over what the Congress will expectedly get in the next election.
Absolutely.
Remember, in the next election, Congress is going to come down to about 32. The 10 seats, one of the biggest chunks they got is from Tamil Nadu. And the pendulumic nature of Tamil Nadu means that the 10 that they have today is going to become 0 tomorrow, which makes it, from 52, it comes down to 42. And then Punjab, they're going to lose again this time. So that comes down to about 30, 32. She was hoping to first consolidate. Her assembly victory was a consolidation. I think at some level, she believes it is no longer going to be a 20-20 split. It is going to be a 35-5 split in the national elections. Plus, she will pick up about 3, 4, maximum 5 seats outside Bengal. Once she becomes a bigger party than the Congress, she can essentially capture a soft capture of the Congress. Remember, what we call the INC today is not the INC. It is the Congress I. It is the Congress Indira. Ultimately, all the other Congress factions became irrelevant, and that is why we today call it the INC. She is, from what I heard, was very much hoping that AITC would ultimately be INC, slowly but surely. So and when you have expectations like that, who is the debacle in Tripura and places like that going to be blamed on? Is Goa heading for a debacle? Personally, I think it is. Who will that be pinned on? So all of this plays into the equation, and the problem is raised expectations and reduced earnings, or reduced, the size of the cake is going smaller. Let's put it this way.
Okay, and on that note, let everyone eat cake, except for me, because I'm not feeling too well today. But thank you for joining us. And
Advaita, you're eating too much cake. Advaita, lose some weight. You are eating too much cake. Please stop eating.
Abhijit, you're the last person who should be talking about food, man. Really. That obnoxious pictures you put up.
I am extremely thin and fit, and you are all just jealous of me. You are all jealous because I look like a Greek god.
When he tried to show off his luxury sedan right now, and then focused on his belly.
I'm in Punjab, yeah. No, Abhijit, are you the way you are because you're Abhijit or because you're a Bengali? I mean, seriously.
No, Pallavi,
where does the Abhijit begin and the Bengali stop?
I'm in Ludhiana. I've just reached Ludhiana, in fact.
You must go to City Linkers and have puri aloo in the morning tomorrow.
City Linkers.
Yeah, it's the best puri aloo place ever.
Okay, I'm going to have that. I'm going to tag Abhijit to
that. Yes. And don't forget to use the hashtag Frugal Indian.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Advaita, on a serious note, what Pratim also said and what Sandeep alluded to as well as everyone else. See, this drama has begun and it's a different kind of khala hobe, and it's not going to end in a nice way for anyone of these dramatist person. It's not going to end nicely for anyone. There's going to be blood spilling. The knives will be out for Mamata from the old guard, ironic as it may be, because it was the old guard that she was aligned to. The old guard is also now cutting their losses or thinking they need to cut their losses and aligning themselves with Abhishek. So this is, as I said in one of my other tweets, the Ides of March has come to Bengal in February.
Right.
So it is going to play out.
Khala instead of khala hobe, khala jomche.
Khala jomche.
Right. Khala jomche.
You understand the difference?
But my sad bit as a Bengali, as someone who grew up in Calcutta, is that the state will again suffer in governance terms because of all of this.
It cannot go further down.
You're right.
It's just, the pits. Anyway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Goodbye. And please do like, share, subscribe our channel so that we keep coming to you and are motivated to see you every Sunday.